And we are live. Welcome back to the 2018 Canadian Indoor Singles Championships. I'm Jake Shuknik, joined by Emma Boyd. How are you doing today, Emma?
I'm great. Yeah, feeling good. This is my first live stream ever, so
So we'll
pretty
make it
awesome.
we'll make it as hard as possible for you, and we'll
Yes.
have everybody online heckling and
Yeah.
sending in complaints.
Yeah, definitely.
So our match right here in front of us is Mike O'Reilly from Alberta against Richard Yao from BC. Are you familiar with Richard at all, given that you're from BC?
Yeah, Richard's a really good player, very consistent. I've watched quite a few games, and he's quite a consistent player, I'd have to say.
Looking at the standings right now, Richard is 6-3, so he'll be eager to try to get the win here to punch his ticket through to one of the medal games. And Mike O'Reilly is down at 1-8, so he'll be looking to get his second win in the books.
A little upset.
Looking to play a little bit of spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
So Mike O'Reilly is playing with green bowls while Richard Yao has blue ones. I would be guessing they look like a Henselite, but I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, they look like Henselite.
So your record in this right now is 6-2?
Yay. Yes.
Yes?
Yes. That's right, sorry.
So you have one game left today?
Yeah.
Who do you got coming up next?
I have Betty Van Wallingham.
The Manitoban.
Yes. Just got back from California with her. Played in NAC. We were on other teams, though, but Betty was definitely the life of the party the whole time.
How did you find the NAC, playing on the artificial surface there at Laguna Hills or Laguna Woods, whatever one it was?
Well, I'm quite used to it because I do play a lot here, and I thought it would be quite similar, but it was a little different, not as like perfect as it is in here. It was kind of hard to adjust to, and I think everyone was feeling it when we first started playing, that it was quite hard to adjust to, but you know.
Was the pace that different, or just like the
No,
lines
it was
were different?
slightly slower
Okay.
in California, so it's
Okay.
faster here.
Interesting. And that was the first time you've played at the North American Challenge?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And what positions or disciplines did you play in?
I played lead for the fours team and the triples team.
Were you on Team Jarvis or Team Falcons?
Jarvis.
Jarvis. All right.
Yeah, it was really great to play with some of those ladies. I haven't played with Shirley Fitzpatrick, but I've played against her until we played together in California, and that was definitely a treat. We played quite well together, I think. I think we went 5-1, so that was a good record, but not good enough to pull off the whole Canada win, but that's okay. We had quite a few development. We had lots of young kids go, so I think that was really good for the development of our sport.
Yeah, it was a real good development opportunity for a lot of players. So couldn't quite see with the marker standing in front down there, but Mike O'Reilly just punched the jack back to Ricky's bowl that you can just see there's the only one on the screen right now, so the jack is right in front of that. From what I've seen of Richard's game so far, I don't think I've streamed him yet this week. He is, when he's on, is just absolutely deadly of being consistent, but when he's off, he struggles. So very steady draw player from what I've seen. I don't think I've seen him throw any up-weight drop shots or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good draw for two. One bowl left to come from Mike O'Reilly. Having spoken to Mike the other day, he's a relatively new player from Alberta. I want to say third or fourth year bowler, so he's just super duper eager to learn anything and everything he can.
Do you think he's throwing some weight at this one?
I would think maybe a little. You just need to make some contact and the jack squares sideways and you're sitting 3 or 4.
Yeah, it looks like
so
he's going.
I would expect some sort of weight from the Calgary Lawn Bowling Club member.
Yeah.
And
Ooh.
that's a whoops. Held onto it just a little too long.
Yeah.
So that'll be at least 2 for Richard Yao. Do you know if he goes by Ricky or if it's just Richard?
I've only ever called him Richard.
Richard? All right.
Yeah, but you never know.
Can't remember who I was commentating with, but they called him Ricky, and I was just thinking, oh, that's kind of odd. I don't know if anybody's ever called him that. Any surprises so far this week?
In my own games,
Mhm.
or okay,
Both. Your games or just in general?
I think that I've been playing less consistently than I'd like. I'll have like 3 like long, short, off center, and then my last one will be like right on. And I can't get my first bowl consistency down right now, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I think it's all kind of a mentality thing at the moment. But it's kind of intimidating coming in being called the defending champion, even though I'm not.
All right, so our lovely marker here is standing directly in front of the camera line, so I think I'm going to have to go down there and give her the hook to take 2 steps to the left. So I'm told that you are a member here as well?
I am also a member here, and at the Tawasin Bowling Club. So this is my indoor club, and then my outdoor club is Tawasin. So I'm about 30 minutes away with no traffic, and it's like an hour and a half with traffic. If I don't get the HOV lane, it's a little upsetting. So. Yeah, I also am playing in 2 leagues in the week. So Monday night pairs league with Steve Santana, and then this is a new league. It's an open singles league on a Thursday night, which has been pretty fun, to say the least. We've played two rounds, and it's been pretty good to get me ready for this. I would say it's been good to prepare me.
And I've heard that Stevie Santana is a bit of a coach for you?
Yeah, he is. Yeah, definitely. He's been really, really good. He's helped me a lot with some mental stuff, and Daryl Fitzgerald has helped me quite a lot with my mental as well, my mental game.
How long have you been working with Stevie?
Probably 2 years now, 2.5 years.
2 years? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Assuming that you get to play for a medal round tomorrow, he'll probably show up and cheer you on?
Yeah,
Maybe?
yeah, I'm
Okay.
thinking so.
For folks who don't know who Steve Santana is, he used to be on our national team and actually won gold at the Asia Pacifics in men's pairs with Ryan Bester back in 2015, I want to say. One bowl left to come for each player here, as Richard is holding 1. But Mike actually has some pretty good position here. Any movement on that bowl, and it's popping right back to him. Are there any new faces here that you haven't seen before?
From the men, yeah, definitely. Like all the Ontario guys, I think I've like seen them on Facebook, but you know, haven't met them in person.
And on the women's side?
On the women's side, no, only Pauline Wong.
Pauline Wong, yeah.
Yeah. But the men are always switching it up, though, because it is quite hard to get out of Ontario. So there's always new faces.
I'm told they had a pretty good showing for their playdowns this year for the first time in a while, which is good to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
And we saw that Mike's last bowl last, and he threw some weight and didn't quite get the result. So he's playing with a little more controlled weight here. It looks like he's a lot closer than he was last end.
Let's go down.
Just not coming down in
Yeah.
time, but great effort though.
Yep.
It'll be another one to Richard to make it 7-2. Must be closer than it looks from their angle, the way they're looking around at it. I thought it was just one for sure. So something that I've been told and kind of noticed is that a lot of the BC players tend to play T to T. Richard being a bit of an exception here, as he's got the mat way up there. Is that true or false that majority of BC players like to play long?
Oh, well, I know I like to play long, but in this tournament, I'd probably say that they like to play with the mat up 1 or 2 dots, and then they play a shorter to medium length in this tournament. But we tend to like to stick to T, or at least I do.
Any particular reason for that?
I just feel like I have more control playing at that length, whereas short, I'm kind of flying through right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It kind of varies tournament to tournament.
Don't think Richard liked that, the way he just slapped his leg twice. Not sure why, because that's not a terrible bowl. Weight's not bad, just narrow. As always, if you want to get in touch with us, feel free to reach out to us on Facebook or Twitter at BCB Bowls on Twitter and at BCB Official on Facebook. Would love to hear from you. Good line from Mike, but I think he's quite heavy. 10 feet through. Very quick. Richard's on the mat and ready to play right away. Do you find the pace of the green has changed at all? Because I'm told that when it's colder, it's quicker. When it's warmer in here, it slows down a little bit.
Honestly, I don't really find a difference, but sometimes when it's like warmer outside and the doors are open, I can tell a difference. But no, it's not a drastic change, I would say. It's nothing like outdoors, and then when the dew comes up, you know, and you can definitely see and feel the difference. It's nothing like that, but.
So how many years have you been playing for now?
I started when I was 10, so I'm 18 now, so 8 years.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
At the Swassen Club mostly?
Yeah. But in recent years, I'll just go and play in every single competition I can, you know, every weekend. I think in June and July, like every single weekend, there's a provincial tournament. So I'm usually trying to play in most of those. But yeah, it's a really fun sport. I really enjoy all like the friends you can make all over Canada. Not in your own, even in your own province, there's lots of people. It's just good people, you know?
Just good people.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious what Richard was doing with his last bowl, where he was going for, because he got out way wide. Personally, I think I probably would have been playing to pick Mike's only shot there and count 4. So playing a much more conservative game. All 3 of Mike's bowls are past the jack, so I would fully expect him to play with a little bit of weight here to get some movement. See him winding up a few times. I think he stopped doing what Claire showed him at the start of the week for an aiming line. I guess that's because he's throwing weight.
Yeah.
Ooh. Good effort.
Close.
Unfortunately, you picked yourself and you're down 3.
Yeah. Do you find that men and women play differently?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The amount of drives that have been thrown on this rink, at least the TV rink anyway,
God. Yeah,
has been a lot.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I'll like look over and watch and be like, why are you driving?
There's a lot of times where I question some of the
Right.
shots that have been played, but
Yeah.
no, the men are definitely playing much more aggressive
Yeah.
than the women. But despite that, using today's 2 games as an example, first game this morning there was a lot of upweight shots thrown, but the second game that we streamed, the game before this one, the last end of the first set, the first 5 bowls were all within like 3 inches, so it was just
wow.
absolutely ridiculous for how good of a draw game it was.
Do you find like a certain province drives more or less?
That's tough to say. Based off of what I've seen on the TV rink today, I'd say Ontario is very drive-centric, but
Yeah.
that's, I don't want to say an unfair assessment,
Mhm.
but the fact that it was an Ontario versus Ontario game means that, whoever's driving is an Ontario person. But I think for this year, yeah, 2 out of the 3 Ontario players are very drive happy,
Yeah.
but I don't know if I could say that as a whole if I were to look at all of the other national championships or other events that go on. I will say that I've been very questioning of shot selection throughout this event. There's been a lot of what I would call questionable decisions. The most frequent one that I'm seeing is people will draw a really good shot, and then the very next bowl they'll switch hands for no reason. And it just baffles my mind as to why you do that, because if you just rolled a toucher, why wouldn't you just try to do that again? Like, it really confuses me, so.
Do you feel like that comes down to like inexperience on the surface, or?
Yes and no. So I don't know if the surface has anything to do with it. I think it's more inexperience as a player and not having the proper coaching training to realize that you should just stick to one hand and replicate.
Well, especially in singles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting, as soon as we said that, though, every bowl has been on the same hand for both players here right now, so clearly these 2 are not culprits.
Yeah.
I think Mike was looking for just a little bit of jack movement there, try to come down, trail the jack over, chip it over to the side. Great shot from Mike. That should almost take the draw lines away. Could be down 3. If you're Mike, what are you doing here?
I would definitely draw. I don't like. Yeah, it's too far away to throw some weight. Even an up weight shot, like.
I think, me being the confident player that I am, looking at the scoreboard right now, there's 2 ends to go. You're down 8, so you need to get 2 4s just to tie the set.
Right.
So the only way I see a 4 here is if he throws a drive and punches Richard's back pole into the ditch.
Carries the jack.
And carries the jack through.
Yeah.
That's the only way I see a 4 happening. But I don't know if Mike sees that or if he's confident enough to try that.
Yeah.
In which case, if he doesn't see it or if he's not confident enough to do it, then I'm probably just drawing to try to get my draw weight down.
Well, he's
definitely playing with a little bit of weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good effort. So that will wrap up the set, basically. So now that the set is out of reach, but they still have to play the last end just because for plus minus, what are you doing in this end? Are you doing anything different from what you've done the rest of the game, or are you still just...
If I was Mike or Richard?
If you're Mike.
If I'm Mike, no, I just try to hone in on my draw. Try to make every shot count, just because you're heading into that next set that you wanna get your draw down, especially on the length that Richard's playing.
And if you're Richard, are you doing anything different for this last end?
No. Just sticking to what's working. Which he is.
Yeah, clearly he is. That's a pretty good opening bowl.
What is the Alberta hand thing?
So
because
that,
Claire uses that
Claire
as
does
well.
that, and she taught it to Mike, and Mike absolutely loves it. So what they do is when they're standing on the mat, they hold their hand up and sort of close one eye, and their aiming line is about 4 fingers to the left or to the right of the jack, depending on which hand you're playing. And when it's, like, I don't know, I guess far enough away, it's a relatively accurate aiming point, no matter where the mat is. So if the mat's at the tee, or if it's up at the hog line, it doesn't matter. You're doing that 4-finger thing still works either way, apparently. So Claire does it, and as soon as she told Mike about it, he absolutely loves it, and he's been doing it all week here too. So.
Do you think that's just indoor?
I feel like if you were playing outdoor, you might have to only use 3 fingers instead of 4, or
Yeah.
2 fingers, depending on which rink you're playing on. But it's interesting. I don't know if I like that, just because for me, my aiming point is I imagine the track of the bowl. I'm not looking at a point on the bank or wherever 4 fingers are. That's just not how I'd be aiming.
Yeah, and I feel like you want to learn to be visual like that, right? Even if you're not, you want to be able to adapt to the situation. I wouldn't want to count on that, but yeah, I've never seen Claire use that. So that's new.
It's definitely new, and seems to be working.
It was working for her. Our last game was very close. She definitely had her draw down for sure.
She was in a banger of a game here yesterday. The last one that was streamed went to tie break as well, and it was a really good game between her and Betty.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I played her this morning and played Betty next, so on the TV rink too, so hopefully we'll give you a good show.
Well, great effort from Mike, just didn't quite get enough. Looks like he's down 3 here again. Richard is very consistent at drawing.
Yeah.
Very good draw player. So interesting last bowl here for Mike, because since you can't win this set, you still, I guess, trying to win as many ends as you can, help plus minus, but I'd be thinking rather than trying for a trail here, because that's kind of a tricky shot, maybe just try to draw to get that draw weight down.
Yeah.
Because you know that when the next end starts, Richard's probably going to have the mat in a similar position, and it'll be a similar length.
But also, I feel like this is where a little bit of inexperience comes into play, and he might just be throwing it.
But to be fair, he's had a very similar situation to this the past 3-4 ends, where when it's his last bowl, he has an option to trail it back. So, I mean, the more times you practice it, the
That's true.
better you're going to get. Very close.
Yeah.
Just missing by inches. Whether it's 2 or 3 doesn't really matter, because that's the end of the first set to Richard Yao.
Do you like the finger measuring?
So my eyes are terrible. I'm not very good at it. But to people who are actually efficient with it, it's useful, practical. I like it during an end, when an end is in play. I absolutely despise it at the end of an end, because there's so many times I see people come down after all the bowls are done, and they'll finger measure And
when you have a measure in
when
your
you
pocket.
have a measure in your pocket, and it's just a huge waste of time because then you end up getting down and measuring anyway.
Yeah.
So I despise it then, but when it's, you know, middle of an end, I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you feel the same way?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's useful just to give you that little bit of confidence
Mhm.
or that little bit of pressure to make the shot. But yeah, my eyes are terrible, so I just use the finger measuring to give me a little bit of extra reassurance.
I think for me, if I ever do get back into competitive bowls, I'll probably end up buying a bullseye, which is a piece of glass with concentric circles on it, so when you take it out of your pocket and hold it over top of the bowl, it's sort of has rings around it so you can see who shot by looking through the glass piece.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nifty little piece. George Boxwell tuning in from, I'm guessing, somewhere behind me. I saw him here earlier this morning. Is the lady beside you the youngest commentator? I would say maybe. I'm trying to think who else I've ever commentated with, because Daryl, John, Siteman, Priscilla, Brandon Watson. I don't think I've ever had Carter on. Yeah, I would have to. I would have to think so.
Nice. It's a big accomplishment.
Yeah, the youngest commentator on air.
Yeah.
Trying to think where did George actually
I
head home?
think he might have gone
He might have
home.
head
I
home.
don't know.
All right, fair enough. Well, to be fair, if George were to come on air with me, then he would be the youngest commentator ever, given that his birthday's on a leap day, so he's only ever had 18 birthdays or whatever it is that he's had.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll correct me that it's actually only 12 or something.
Yeah. 4.5.
Yeah. Yeah. Richard turned around right away after this bowl. He didn't like this at all. And I'm not really sure why. Like, it's not a terrible bowl.
Yeah.
That's twice now he's done
Yeah.
sort of a bit of an antic where it makes it seem like he didn't like it, and it turns out to be not bad.
I think sometimes his delivery isn't as smooth as he'd like it to be, but it'll still sort itself out.
And to be fair, if you're actually a really good player and you're expecting to be on the jack every time, even if you're a foot away, it's still not what you're expecting. Your expectations are just that much higher when you're a consistent player.
Yeah.
Richard's asking if last bowl shot. Marker's taking a look, saying it's a measure. So George is turning 19 in a year and a half in 2020.
So would that still make me the...
So then, yeah, technically I guess you would still be the youngest because you're only 18, yeah. Yep,
Great.
that's fair.
That's good. That seems to be the way it is, though. At a lot of these things, tend to be the youngest, but that's okay. I feel right at home. Except for juniors. That's when it really comes out, and yeah.
So Mike's last bowl here again could be down a couple. I don't really see much of a trail here this time, though. I think he's just got a cold turkey draw. The way he's swinging his arm makes me think he might be throwing some weight. He is. In the ballpark, too.
Yep. Oh, might get that front one. Oh.
Didn't miss by much. Speaking about drive happy, might have to add Mike into that realm. But sometimes when your draw weight's just not there, it's tempting to just start relying on the drive.
Yep. That was me yesterday and this morning. Then once you start driving, your draw weight just goes a little off, I believe. So
Yeah, definitely one of the things that people need to practice a little more is driving and drawing.
Mm-hmm.
So that actually was a 3. To give Richard Yao a quick head start in this second set. And just as I would have expected, Richard's got the mat up again right to where he likes it. So since you've been playing for 8 years, if you could give 10-year-old you word of advice, what would you say?
I wish I had told people that I lawn bowled earlier. I probably didn't tell too many of my friends or peers until about last 2 years ago that I actually like did this at a high and competitive level. Yeah, just to embrace it. I would tell myself to embrace it and not be scared of what people thought about it. Because there were definitely like a couple times with people like, lawn bowling like, what,
Yeah.
for old people.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking
Yep.
about.
But I definitely didn't expect like starting at such a young age. Like I didn't expect like this to happen from it. Like it was just supposed to be a little fun like game to go play with my grandma and play with a couple friends, play with Priscilla a little bit. I didn't expect to be like going to California. I went to Wales last year. Like yeah, it's been pretty incredible. Opened quite a few opportunities for me as well. So
I think the traveling is one of my favorite parts about bowls.
definitely.
Being able to hop around, see new countries, see new
Yeah.
cities.
Well, you've hopped around quite a bit this summer, hey?
This
For
summer's
live
actually a slow
streaming?
summer for me.
Yeah?
Last summer was the one that was way more
That's true.
coast to coast last year.
Yeah,
was-
Halifax.
Yeah, Halifax. 1 week, 3 days later I was in Victoria, and then after that I think I had 5 days off before being in Winnipeg.
Oh
So
my goodness.
last year was the hectic one. This year it was just Regina and here, so not nearly as bad. How can we make the sport more appealing to young people? That's a very good question. My personal thoughts on this, which
Is
is
that from my mom?
It is.
Hi, Mom.
Speaking as a bowler and not as a Bowls Canada rep employee, my personal thoughts on this as a bowler is to have more younger people as instructors, coaches, facilitators, I guess. Speaking personally, when I first started, the very first thing that my club had us do was go down to, I think the guy was like 75, down to his basement and watch a black and white video on how to play bowls, which was just, I think I had drool coming out of my mouth in the first 3 seconds. So, on the other hand, if it would have been, I don't know, 3 or 4 people who were in their 20s out on the green teaching us what to do, I could have related to that a lot more than a bunch of 75-year-olds. So that's sort of a catch-22 though, because if you don't have young people in the first place, then you can't really do that. She says hello back.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. Definitely, like going into my club, Tawasin Lawn Bowling Club, it's definitely like an older populated area as well. So our demographic is of the older generation, which is common in lawn bowling. But yeah, that didn't stop me though. Like I feel like I've always been like quite a mature person, so I could like relate with older people and talk to older people, and it would just be normal, you know. So, and like definitely playing with like my grandma or my grandma's friends and stuff, like definitely made that more just normal.
One thing that sort of bugged me for a while when I was young, I started playing when I was 8, and I used to always attend the Ontario Lawn Bowling Association AGMs. And so when I got involved with the junior program around 16 or so, I used to still go to these meetings and sit and listen to all the old folks bicker. But one thing that sort of really grinded my gears is that they would get into arguments about the junior program and saying, we need to do this because it's what kids like. We need to do that because it's what the kids want. But not once did they ever actually ask me as a junior, what do you want?
Yeah.
So I guess my answer then to that, Jane, would be to make it more appealing to youth would be to go and ask the kids who are bowling right
Yeah.
now. Because it's one thing for adults to try to say, kids need this, kids need that, but I think the best answer is to actually go out and ask, find out for yourself what they want,
Mhm.
because I can't necessarily say what makes the most sense across the country, because kids out here in BC might want something different than kids in Ontario. I don't know that, but
Yeah, definitely. I feel like in BC, like our junior program's strong, but it definitely could be better. Um,
do you know how many juniors there are in BC?
I'm not too sure. I just know out of my club.
Okay.
Um, but there are quite a few. There's quite a few definitely up and coming
Mm-hmm.
kids. But yeah, it would just be like really nice to see like a solid, strong junior program. I remember we used to have like Friday night barbecue dinners,
Mhm.
and there would be like a whole junior lane. We would have like a fours, like a junior 4 versus 4 game going on, and that
Mhm.
was probably 3 years ago, and it's
Mhm.
just kind of dropped off the face of the earth, unfortunately. But that's what happens. It comes and goes, because kids have lots of other sports they're playing.
Mhm.
And like trying to graduate high school, trying to juggle everything, like it's definitely hard.
Mhm. Mhm. That's one of the things I've been working with a club up in Ottawa was how to attract a younger crowd. Not necessarily juniors, but 20-year-olds, give or
Mhm.
take. And so I sort of asked them to think about it. What do young people like? If you ask a 20-year-old, it's probably like food, loud music. So that's something that you can have at any club. Is you can have food, you can have loud music. That's not very hard. You don't really have to install anything to do that.
Mhm. Portable speakers are
Yeah.
getting better. like,
Yep.
There's been a really good beer league in Nutana, I believe,
Yep.
going on right now.
Yep.
Or not right now, but yeah,
Past few years.
Fran Scott was telling me lots about that when we were rooming together for NAC.
Mhm.
Shout out to Fran, best roomie. But yeah, she's doing a really good job there.
Yeah, that's one thing I would like to help clubs work on, is actually making it more engaging to stay at your club. And
Mhm.
using my old club in Chesley as an example, as soon as the game is done, I have no incentive to stay in the clubhouse any longer than I need to. There's nothing there
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
So some clubs I've heard of sort of success stories is they go and they get free Wi-Fi,
Yep.
they go and they get a bar, they go and they have a big screen TV so you can come in and watch whatever sports game after. They give you incentive to actually stay at the club longer,
Yeah.
which too many clubs right now, I personally probably wouldn't want to be there more than 2 minutes unless I absolutely need to be.
Yeah. And I definitely see like the difference from like my personal lawn bowling travels, like in England or when I was in Wales. It's very much of a social aspect as well. It's not just bowling. Like there's a lot more socializing and
Mhm.
drinking after,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
in the bars and stuff, because they're attached to the clubs, and it's a really great environment. It's good because you get to know people a little bit better, like than on the bowling green.
That's the biggest factor issue I guess I have, is when I was 10, 11, 12 and all the members are 40, 50, 60, I have zero in common with any of these people. So going back in the clubhouse to talk, it's just sort of awkward conversation because I don't know what to say to someone
Same.
who's 50 years older than me. Like, I have no idea. I'm just
Yeah.
a kid. So
Yeah.
not exactly the most inviting environment.
But they, I'm thinking that they would probably feel the same. Like, what am I going to
Yeah.
say to this 18-year-old who's on her phone, or
Yep.
you know?
Exactly.
So,
That's a tricky situation to be in.
Definitely. But we all have this same common
Mm-hmm.
love for love for lawn bowls, so there's that, right?
Not that I'm saying that TV's a solution to all your problems, but part of me wishes that my club back in the day would have had a TV inside, so that way we could have put on the Jays game, Leafs game, whatever sport, insert random team, and at least you can talk about that with whoever, because that's
Yeah.
really not age specific.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I went to Sydney on the island, on Vancouver Island,
Mm-hmm.
they had a little Wii attached to their
Ah.
TV, so I thought that was cool. So like siblings, because we were having our junior provincials there, so siblings of the competitors were just going in and playing on the Wii, and that would get more kids hanging out around the club as well.
I've been failing to keep the ends up to date. It's after 3 ends, not 2. Yeah, George Boxwell saying that you can learn a lot about strategy after the game over a drink, and that's something that I think curling has that I think we're sorely missing. After
Yeah.
curling, it's customary that afterwards you go back into the clubhouse and what was it, the winner buys the loser a drink or something like that. So, especially for newer players, if that were a custom in bowls, you could learn quite a bit by
Just
going back
absorb
afterwards
everything,
and
yeah,
just
yeah.
talk to the other team. So looking at sports academies as an idea for getting youth in bowls, that's interesting, and I think using BC as an example, potential, but most other provinces don't have enough coaches yet, which is something that we're struggling to get people to understand, that coaching is a very important part of bowls, and you should be using coaches, needing coaches, wanting coaches, and right now far too many provinces just don't have the capacity or the expertise in place. So it'd be one thing to say, hey, let's start a sport academy, but then you actually need people to run it and to do it. And
Yeah.
I don't think we have the expertise to do that yet, but definitely an idea for somewhere down the line. Great shot, Mike.
Yeah, that's a nice bowl.
He's got Richard sort of confused here. Richard's coming down to take a look now. He was just standing on the mat with his hand on his hip. What on earth?
Do you think he's going to go for the bowl?
I don't know. He's been very safe,
Yeah.
conservative, hasn't thrown much weight, so if he is, it's only going to be just an overdraw.
Yeah. Always. A little narrow.
Yeah, looks a little narrow. Just missed.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about the weight I would have expected.
Yeah.
Just a yard through, not much. I'm kind of surprised he played that hand, but
Yeah.
great question, George. Where's Emma's coach? I'm not sure where Stevie is today. I'd be guessing at work, is
Yeah.
my guess.
Well, I think he is. He's also got a baby, you know.
Yeah, that's fair too.
He's a busy guy,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely phones help.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely text quite a bit throughout the day.
Rob Gallup, nice to have you with us too, saying we need the younger players to take an active role in running their clubs, get on the board and help the, I'm guessing you meant mindset of the club to attract the younger players. That's a tricky liability
Yeah.
issue. In most provinces, I think, in order to be on any sort of executive, you need to be 18, because if you're running a organization, you're sort of legally liable for the organization, so you need to be 18, you need to be an adult. So I'm not quite sure how you could do that I guess once you're 18, you could have more 18-year-olds on your board, sure, but I'm not sure how else you can get around that. Because, yeah, I agree, it would be nice to have the ideas of 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-olds for sure, but in many provinces, it's actually not legal for them to be
Yeah.
a director.
I definitely have been asked to like get on some boards even at my own club, and for me, like, I think that I'm not at that stage yet. Like, all I want to do is focus on playing, and also just some boards in some provinces, they can be a little bit messy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think I was asked last year, and my response was, I'm just trying to graduate right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually kind of a good point when you are in university, and Rob's clarifying you meant younger, as in young adults, not kids, so
Yeah.
fair, so 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Yeah, university college is kind of the main priority. You're not really thinking about, hey, let's run an organization.
Yeah.
Um,
Even though it would look good on a college application.
yeah, absolutely it would. Time management's a fickle thing.
Yeah.
I agree that having younger adults running things would make things way easier, better,
Mhm.
awesome. Um, Actually, one of the things that I'm planning on doing is sort of club development, helping clubs grow, is informing clubs that there's actually training out there for how to be on an executive or a board of directors, because right now, way too many clubs, way too many provinces have people running them who have no idea what they're doing. And so there's training available where you can go through an online module where you learn
Mhm.
about the role of president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, director at large, whatever.
That's a great goal.
And I think that that would be incredibly useful for clubs to actually grow and maybe attract new people, because you actually understand what it means to be running an organization. For me, I actually was on the Ontario Board of Directors for a year when I was in university, and I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I was even in school at the time
Oh,
for sport
gosh.
management. So if I'm a student of sport management and I have no idea, then there's a very good chance
Yeah.
that the older folks
Oh.
also have no idea. Great shot, Mike.
Yeah. Looks close. Yeah.
Richard doesn't need to do much here, just a nudge,
Mhm.
push it in, because right now I do believe Mike has shot.
Yeah, it looks like it. It's close.
Great effort.
Yeah.
I think I'm inclined to follow him down if I'm Mike and just try to sort of play the exact same bull Richard just did.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think coming here, never playing on a surface like this, like how intimidating would that be? Because I've never experienced that. But coming to a national event and qualifying on grass, like, I can't imagine how that would feel.
I, well, that's tricky, I guess. I'm just thinking personally, I don't think I'd be that intimidated at all, because, to be fair, I've never actually qualified to come here either. So if I were to come here, it would be my first time too. But I don't think I'd be that intimidated by it. I think I'd be less confident about the type of shots that you have to play, because
Okay.
it's a little bit different here, where like if you barely touch the jack, it can still move 3-4 feet,
Yep.
whereas on an outdoor green, if you barely touch the jack, it moves half an inch.
Yep.
So the type of shots that you have to play here, I guess I'd be a little less confident in what I would normally be playing, but I don't know if I'd be intimidated at all, just less confident, which I guess it's kind of similar, almost the same thing.
Yep.
I'm not sure if I like what Mike's playing here. This is a
Yeah.
very interesting shot.
Yeah.
I guess it's not that dangerous, but
Is he coming for a push or to remove the blue?
if he gets through the port, tries to split and come through.
Okay. Ooh. Yeah.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Another opportunity here for Richard to just give his bull a tap. Doesn't need much. Perfect question to ask Patrick Cote. It's, what's the question, George?
If he was feeling confident.
If he's feeling confident, yeah, I guess that's fair because it is Patrick's first time out here. That's touche,
Yeah.
touche. Patrick's in a bit of a unique situation though because he plays short mat so much that the carpet for short mat is, I want to say, kind of similar to this.
Well,
So even though it's only 45 feet, it's still something.
Yeah. He told me that he puts the mats together and
Mhm.
then he'll have about 90 feet, I think he said.
Mhm.
So he said he felt fine coming to this because we had a little chat the other day. But yeah, he's been doing pretty well.
Calling for an umpire to measure this, I believe. Well, it looks like your opponent has a sore back here. You might be off to a good start for sitting in a slightly comfier chair.
It's been a long week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. It's like intensely playing for an hour and a half, and then you have your break.
For an hour and a
Yeah.
half.
Well, it's been like 2 hours for me now at this point.
Yeah.
Because the couple games on this rank have gone.
Very slowly.
Yeah. They're nervous. They're on the live stream rink. Take their time.
Does that play a factor?
I don't think so for me, but yeah, I don't think so for me. I don't really think about it until I'll look at the camera at the other end and be like, oh right, I'm being live streamed.
I got lazy this year when we were here for NAC 2 years ago. I climbed up the ladder and hung the cameras from the ceiling. This year I didn't do that, so you can actually see the cameras here as opposed to 2 years ago when they're from the rafters. So that was in fact one for Mike O'Reilly. Making it 5-3 after 5. Another way to make the sport more appealing to kids would probably be to make the game shorter.
Yeah.
It kind of infuriates me that we're playing 18 end games, 16 end games that take 2.5 hours. It just seems way too long. I'd much rather just play a 45-minute game, 4 or 5 ends, whatever it is. Get in, get out.
Yeah, I feel like attention spans are a little less at a younger age. So just playing around for a few short ends, playing a couple drills even, you know, like bowl through the cones.
Yep.
Like a spider drill even, like stuff like that's very fun and appealing to kids. But long games like this.
Forget about it.
Yeah. Well, in North Van for juniors 3 years ago, was it? Would be 3 years now. Mason, do you remember Mason? He was quite little. He was about 10 or 11. Yeah. Yeah. I was just imagining how long the games must have felt for him. Yeah.
One of the things that I worked on this past year was a Learn to Bowl program for kids that I piloted at one of the clubs in Ottawa, and then had 4 or 5 other clubs across Canada pilot with me. And so we had some fun little activity cards printed up, and we called it Bucky Learns to Bowl because we used a beaver as a mascot just because we're Canadian. And I used a lot of games, drills, whatever, each night to sort of teach you the ropes of learning how to bowl. And we didn't once play an actual game, like a traditional game like this. It was always just different like drills and fun little activities. And what sort of caught my attention is that when you're young and you're in school and they first teach you how to play basketball, how to play soccer, how to play volleyball, whatever, you end up just doing drills for like 3 weeks before you ever actually get to play a game. I remember when I was learning how to play basketball, first you just dribble with your right hand for the day, and then the next day it's your left hand, and then you learn how to shoot, and then you do this, that, and the other.
Yep.
So you don't ever actually get to play a game for like weeks on end. And it's weird that in bowls, when
You
you
just
join a
throw
club,
'em in.
you
Yeah.
just, yeah, you're thrown in.
Yeah.
And then we wonder why people struggle and aren't very good and get frustrated and quit because they haven't developed the skills to actually be successful.
Yeah. 'Cause I played basketball for about 5 years, and I remember just starting with, your free throws and perfecting your free throws and your pre-shot routine,
Mm-hmm.
and all of these things. And they definitely apply to lawn bowling.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just the fact that they all get thrown in is a little intimidating. That's for sure. I remember like being like 10 years old and going to draws, like playing against like older people and being so intimidated because I didn't know the rules, or I didn't know I was supposed to flip the scoreboard or rake the balls, you know. So that could definitely push people out of the sport a little bit.
Mike's last bowl, he's walking down after it, and I think he's narrow.
Mm-hmm.
Weight's not bad, though. Richard has such a big step off the mat whenever
Yeah.
he delivers. He's almost barely even on the mat.
Mm-hmm.
Crashing. So that was one more to Mike to make it 5-4. After 6. Much tighter set.
Yep.
It is so interesting that both Claire and Mike do that little hand thing where they hold their hand up and it looks like he's almost just air high-fiving you.
Yeah, I wonder where Claire got that from.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have no idea. Not a clue. George Voxwell saying the hardest part of learning was to get your tag in by 6:45. I'm not sure if that's just an Ontario thing or a BC thing, but quite often for your local jitney tournament, whatever, you have to be there 15 minutes early and throw your name in the hat to say you're there and want to play.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like showing up to draws or even tournaments or whatever, I'm never like an hour early like you're supposed to be. I just, show up and play. But a lot of the times, like, my grandma will go like an hour ahead, like just be all prepared so she's not rushed. But
That is something that the culture here
of
is
younger people, or
of just bowlers in general
Yeah.
is sometimes frustrating how much people like to enforce rules just because they can. Kind of drives me up a wall.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that might be another thing to get younger people more interested in just not having as many rules
Mm-hmm.
and just
Forget the rules.
yeah, and just have fun.
Mm-hmm. Great shot coming here from Mike.
Yeah, that's nice.
That'll work.
Mm-hmm.
Richard asking if he is in fact down 1, and Marker says, yep. Down the 1. Kind of surprised by that. Asked if he was down 1 and said yes and came up short.
Yeah.
Normally when you're down 1, that gives you an excuse to be a little bit heavier.
Mm-hmm. The whole hand thing also could just be like a pre-shot routine, even, you know, just getting comfortable. Because I know me personally, like I have to touch my hat before I play. Like I'll have to touch the back of my hat.
Really?
Yeah. When I'm wearing a hat, and then I noticed I wasn't wearing a hat at the beginning of the tournament, and I was like, yep, this is why I lost my game. It's a little bit of a superstition thing, but
Yeah, pre-shot routine is crucial.
yeah. And have my towel in my hand like a little safety blanket, and then I blow a bowl, so.
Chance here for Richard to score 3, maybe even 4, if he can roll Mike's through 3 feet. 3 good rolls. Given that he likes to play conservative, I'm not expecting big weight.
Doesn't look like he likes that one.
And that might be the first time he displayed emotion saying he didn't like it, and I agree that, yeah, that's
Yeah.
reasonable not to like it.
Yeah.
So 2/3 of the time when he does that, it's actually an okay bowl. 1/3 of the time, he's right, it's not a great bowl.
Yeah. Hmm.
2 ends to go, all tied up at 5.
Hmm.
Does your mindset change after you've won the first set or lost the first set going into the second set?
If I've won it, no. I'll just stick to what's been working, and play confidently and calmly. But if I'm behind, sometimes I know that I can be a little scared or anxious. Yeah, I can definitely feel my body change. Like I'll be a little bit more like tense and nervous and a little shaky. But yeah. But if I know that I was bowling good in the first set, then I'll just try to hone in on that and win that next set and bring it back to the tiebreaker.
Since they were playing right to the tee, our camera angle's not really set up for this very well, as Mike's bowl is probably 6 inches from going into the ditch and yet totally off camera. Well, thanks, George. I guess that means that I have potential to be a coach at some point. Said a good coach would have seen the shot I just called last time, and Richard should have played it. So maybe at some point I might think about coaching, but not yet. Don't think I have the expertise to be a coach just yet.
I think half the time coaching is just about calming down your player, at least with me. Like Steve is there for a lot of moral support, and like our shot calling is more like, yeah, do this. Okay, you can do it. And we'll just both agree that I can do it, and he'll put that little extra confidence in me that I can do it,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Or if I'm unsure about a shot, then we'll just decide together, and yeah. It's very mutual. It's not like he's going, you should play this shot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice. Because I know a couple coaches that are like, no, like you should not throw a drive right now, or you should throw this. And that's more that does more negative
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
than positive, in my opinion.
Mike's really coming alive here, put two bangers together. But yeah, no, I learned last year when I was commentating with Daryl that quite often when he's coaching athletes, he doesn't actually tell them what shot to play at all. They'll come off and say, well, I was thinking about this, and he just reaffirms saying, yep, go do it then.
Yeah.
What's the score between Linda and Joe? Looking beside us here, looks like 5-0 Joe. Joe won the first set. My old co-host David Gerard is off playing hockey, so he's not commentating, but still asking about scores.
Probably every time I'm here, David's here.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Good guy?
yeah, he's usually the monitor for this place in the afternoons, because that's when I can get down here. But yeah, he's always trying out his different sets of bowls, and I think last year he was trying to do different art projects with bowls and just trying to keep it interesting.
Mike,
Ooh,
wow.
Oh, dirty bowl right there.
Lion 3,
Yeah.
that would be huge to go up 3 into the last end.
That's great.
So there's a big bowl here for
Definitely.
Richard. And Richard's still staying on his forehand. I probably would have switched to the backhand, to be honest, and played with a little bit of weight through there.
Yeah.
But
Oh.
that's exactly why I wouldn't have played that hand.
Yeah.
So I think that's 3 for Mike to give him a 3-point lead
Ooh.
going to the last end. Certainly potential for a tiebreak here. The way they updated the scoreboard, they only gave him 1.
Yeah. It definitely looked like 3 to
I
me.
thought that was 3 for sure. Clearly there was a bowl back there that I didn't see on camera.
Yeah.
Big thanks to our partners and sponsors, the Government of Canada through Sport Canada, the Coaching Association of Canada, and Kukri, our official clothing supplier. So if that was just 1 for Mike, just a 1-point game going into this last end then. Not nearly the comfortable lead that I thought it was.
Yep.
I guess David's actually playing hooky, not hockey.
Oh, hooky.
Big difference. Big difference.
Yeah, definitely.
This is a fairly loose head shaping up here with Mike's first bowl just hanging on, not quite in the ditch, and Richard's first bowl coming up about 5 feet short. Just squeaking by on the wrong side. Nope. Big opportunity for either player. The jack's still wide open. So since Richard won the first set, he only needs one here to tie it to get the win. And he is cruising through. So Richard was 6-3 coming into this game. 7-3 would put him in a pretty good spot.
They have 2 more games to play. One tonight and one tomorrow morning.
No, just one more after this.
Oh, just one tomorrow morning?
Just one tomorrow morning. This is game number 10. Mike's just drawn the shot. Richard's chasing this down. I think he likes it. Close.
Great call.
Got it. I fully expect Mike to throw some weight up the middle here. Jack or a bowl. One bowl left each.
This is where I'd get nervous.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah.
Is he just trying to draw it off?
Yeah.
He is just trying to draw it off. I'm shocked.
Yeah, me too. Definitely thought he's gonna
I thought for sure he'd throw
drive
weight at
that
this.
into the ditch. Oh.
Don't think he gave it enough. And Richard's not even going to bother throwing it.
Oh.
Yes, he will.
Oh.
Yes, he
Oh.
will. Mike was ready to shake hands.
Yeah.
Richard said, "Nah, I'm throwing this." And kind of rightfully so, just because you don't want to tie the set if you can win it for Richard. Because when it comes down to tiebreakers, you want to win as many sets as you can, not just have tied sets. So I fully expect Richard to switch hands here and just try to draw second shot and make sure he wins the set instead of just tying it.
Eric Gallipo is asking, how old is Mike? Would you know?
Mike O'Reilly?
Yeah.
I have no idea. And I don't want to guess because that could easily offend someone, so I'm not going to say anything.
All right. Sorry, Eric.
I will say older than me.
Yeah, me too.
And he got it. He got 2. So that's straight sets to Richard Yao. Well, thanks for commentating with me.
Of course, anytime.
Good luck in your next game.
Thank you.